with the chiefs and sheriffs throughout the great state of Maryland. Just on background, I want to kind of share with you that I am, as Ms. Chief suggested, the national lead organizer of both National Faith and Blue Weekend, but also the One Congregation, One Precinct, or One COP initiative. Several weeks prior to the death of George Floyd, the director of the COPS office at the U.S. Department of Justice, or the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, and I convened a meeting of all of the national law enforcement associations, National Sheriff's Association, IACP, PERF, Noble, the Fraternal Order of Police, the major city chiefs, major county sheriffs. Literally all of the national law enforcement groups were on that call, and we jointly decided that we needed to do something to unite law enforcement and communities, or reinforce the collaboration between officers and deputies in local communities and the people that live in those neighborhoods. With all of the divisive rhetoric and imagery and so much of the tensions that continue to fester, and this was before George Floyd, we decided that we needed to do something collectively. So we came up collectively with this idea of National Faith and Blue Weekend, basically to take the best out of Coffee with a Cop, the best lessons learned from National Night Out, put a real focused mission around them, something that we could do to really see sustained relationships and healing and reconciliation when it comes to law enforcement community collaboration. And we came up with this idea of National Faith and Blue Weekend. And at this point, National Faith and Blue Weekend is the most collaborative police community outreach project in the history of our country. Never before have all of the national law enforcement groups, including the unions, work together on a single community-facing project. So National Faith and Blue Weekend is already historic. As Mr. Newman suggested, we're just about 4 weeks away from this engagement, and Lord knows if there's ever been a time in our nation's history where we needed to build bridges between law enforcement and some of the people that you all are policing, or all of the people you're policing. That moment in history is now, and there's no other institution that could do that like faith-based organizations, because they have the respect and admiration of literally millions and millions of Americans that is unique and should be used to build bridges between law enforcement and the people that they're policing. So that's what National Faith and Blue Weekend is all about. The mission of National Faith and Blue Weekend is to facilitate safer and stronger communities by engaging law enforcement professionals through houses of worship. So through churches, synagogues, and mosques and temples and other faith-based organizations. Through National Faith and Blue Weekend, we will power a movement across this country where law enforcement professionals and citizens work together to break down biases and to build bridges from communities to law enforcement and vice versa. And that can only happen when we have the capacity to work with one another. So National Faith and Blue Weekend has that as its mission. In terms of the what, National Faith and Blue Weekend is a collaborative initiative that builds bridges and breaks down biases through activities and outreach among law enforcement professionals and the communities they serve. The why, I think that's obvious to many of you, but National Faith and Blue Weekend is based on the premise that strong communities are built on mutual respect and understanding. Law enforcement entities and faith-based organizations are both key pillars in any local community, and when they work together, neighborhoods thrive. In terms of the how, as I mentioned earlier, National Faith and Blue Weekend is an extension of our One Congregation, One Precinct, or One COP initiative, which is the signature program of the organization that I lead, Movement Forward. And we are a solutions-focused human and civil rights organization based here in Atlanta, Georgia. The One COP initiative is an effort that pairs officers at the beat or precinct level with local houses of worship, so with local churches, mosques, and synagogues. And similarly, Faith and Blue is facilitated by law enforcement entities, faith-based organizations, and the surrounding community. In terms of the who, I referenced this earlier, but National Faith and Blue Weekend organizers represent every single major law enforcement group and every faith tradition in the United States of America. And we're really, really proud that we've been able to get the chiefs and the sheriffs and the unions and everyone else to work together, the think tanks, just everybody working on the same page. And this effort is being, of course, co-convened by our One Cop initiative and the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, or the COPS office, and again, is the most collaborative police community outreach project in recent history in our nation. A lot of people ask the question about why faith-based organizations, and now I'm going to bring in to talk a little bit about the why we work through faith-based organizations. I'm going to bring in our Chief Operating Officer, Jared Foyer, who is the National Co-Chair of National Faith at Blue Weekend. Jared?
Thank you very much, Reverend. So one important question is, why the faith component in Faith in Blue? And the answer is that there is no community resource that rivals the breadth and the depth of the faith community. As you can see on the slide, there are over 350,000 houses of worship across the country. And together they engage 65 million congregants in weekly observance. And you can find these houses of worship in large cities, in small towns, in every state from coast to coast. And collectively, they represent the diverse canvas of our country. So when we were designing this program and considering how to facilitate connections between law enforcement and the residents they protect and serve, faith stood out. Faith is the front door through which you engage the community, directly leading to improvements in public safety and to positive interactions. And the last bit I would add is that faith also speaks to matters of the heart, who we are as people and the hopes and dreams and concerns. And by being able to engage at that level, you can truly have transformative interactions. Thank you, Reverend. Reverend, you might be muted.
I do apologize. Thank you, Jared. So among the resources that we have made available are a number of assets that are available online. We have been able, through the support of our partners, which we'll tell you about in just a moment, we've been able to offer a real repository of resources so that people in your community can not only work with you to organize events, but host events and also find events. And I'm going to ask our Chief Information Officer, our technology lead, Dalton Cole, to come in and share with you a little bit about how you can host an event, how a law enforcement agency, a sheriff's office, or a police department can sign up to host an event. And we'll share with you some of the resources that we have made available to make it very easy for an agency to host an event with your local houses of worship. Dalton?
Hey, Reverend Hutchins. So the steps to host the event are fairly simple. You would just go to faithandblue.org. So that's faithandblue.org, as it is on the screen. And you would sign up to host an event. So on the website, there's a tab at the top that says Get Involved, and that will take you to a host an event form. And that's just basic communication information for your coordinator for your department or your agency. Once they've signed up, then they will be hearing within the same day, usually from our support team. So that would be myself, Nicole, someone from our office that can help guide your team through the process of hosting an event. We'll be able to send you the toolkit. We'll be able to send you the detail form for you to fill out with all of the events that you will be hosting, whether it's one event or multiple events for your agency or department. After that, you'll be given a link so that you can send that out and invite your community to that event through all of your social media channels, as well as send out the resources that we'll have on our website. Then the next steps are pretty much just to host the event, and then we'll be following up with you after National Faith in Blue weekend to collect some feedback and images for us to share on our website. So those are the simple steps for hosting an event.
Thank you, Dalton. And again, we provide a great toolkit that has a lot of resources that your agencies can use to organize. We have 20 sample activities in the toolkit that run the gamut of community engagement. And so I'm going to ask Jared to come back in and talk just a little bit about the types of activities and the resources and the fact that all of them have 3 options: in-person, socially distanced, and virtual. Jared? You're muted, Jared.
My apologies, I thought I hit the button. We want Faith in Blue Weekend to be comprised of activities that are creative, that are engaging, and that feel relevant. So we designed 21 sample activities, and they run the gamut from a community service project to a book discussion, to a community conversation, to a picnic. And the activities that we came up with are divided into 4 groupings. So the first grouping is called Fostering Dialogue and Understanding. The second is Promoting Peace and Safety through Arts and Culture. The third is Creating Connections. And the fourth is Cultivating Partnerships and Engagement. Some of these activities have a light touch, and others are designed to facilitate deeper dialogue. And finally, we also created 4 additional activities that require less planning, such as delivering greetings or an Ask an Officer. What we're excited about is that all the steps that are necessary to organize these 21 sample activities are laid out in a toolkit, from the planning steps in advance to what you need on the day of the event. And for each activity, there's an in-person option, a socially distanced option, and a virtual option. But what's important to understand is that these are not the only activities that can be organized. The only 3 core components of an event is that they involve a house of worship, they involve a law enforcement agency, and they be open to the public. And after that, it's really up to the creativity and the individual needs and the capacity of a community. Thanks, Reverend.
Thank you, Jared. We have talked and referenced a great deal about some of the resources that are available at faithinblue.org, but one of them that is probably most valuable is the toolkit. And you'll see on the right of your screen an image, a graphic of the front of the toolkit. It says 2020 National Faith in Blue Weekend Planning Toolkit. And again, the toolkit has a step-by-step guide and everything that your agency, your COPS unit, your community engagement function, whoever it is that would be organizing for your agency, the toolkit has a step-by-step guide, including some planning steps for sample activities, as Jared referenced, a checklist for getting started, a sample media advisory, and answers to frequently asked questions. So the toolkit really has everything that an agency needs. And this toolkit was designed collaboratively by all of the partnering organizations. So all of the law enforcement associations and our partners at the U.S. Department of Justice collaborated to formalize these events, as well as the toolkit based upon what we've seen as best practices, again, with events that have happened across the country that are intended to foster community engagement with law enforcement. Among some of the other things that we have on the toolkit are other available resources, and I'm going to bring back Cecilia Cheeks, our managing director, to share with you some of the other resources that we have, talk you through them, and then we're going to show them to you on the slide. And they're, again, all customizable to fit the needs and requirements of your agencies. Ms. Cheeks?
Thank you, Reverend. So in your efforts to put together and coordinate events, we recognize that there's support that's needed in the form of marketing and communicating to the communities so that the attendance and knowledge of the event can be shared. And in doing so, we decided that there were key modes of communication that would be most advantageous to a variety of needs. And chief amongst them are the customized, as Reverend indicated, customizable poster, where you can go in and change the date, time, location, and other specific information to your event. All of this is, you can download it from the website under resources. And then you get their instructions on how to modify the file in the resources tab. And then you can take that poster and print it either, at your local printer within your office or to a print shop in your community. Same goes for the postcard. There's a printable postcard, and then there's also an electronic postcard, both of which can be modified to meet the needs of your event. There's a banner and the banner can be downloaded. We are going to be providing banners, one banner per event while supplies last, for events that are registered under host an event to those coordinators. There are also T-shirts that are customizable. And so there's a template also on the resource tab that you can download and add specific information if you've got other organizations that you're collaborating with, and put their logos, your logo, so on and so forth on the back, and any other type of messaging that you'd like to share that's in the spirit of National Faith in Blue. And there are also, we've got hashtag Faith and Blue is what we are using to help spread the word so that the national groundswell and movement can be in sync regardless of where the events are being held. And so we're asking that all communication include hashtag Faith and Blue, and that's hashtag Faith and the word AND Blue. On to the, thank you, Reverend. And then on to these are examples of what I've just mentioned. And so as you see here, you've got the postcard on your left, the T-shirt in the center, and below it is another image of the toolkit. The poster is below next to the toolkit. And then we've got the one-pager, which has been a tremendous, a really popular piece of communication. It's a quick one-page overview of the program and how it works. And people really, really like how this helps educate on the initiative itself. So with that being said, we are on board as well to help you with any of your marketing communication needs. And so if you have questions, of course, always feel free to call us here at National Faith in Blue in the office. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Ms. Cheeks. And I think what you I hope are able to see is that we've created every resource that we could to make sure that organizing was easy, streamlined, and efficient for all agencies to be engaged and be involved. There's no cost for the design of any of these things. Again, thanks to the generosity of our supporters and sponsors, we're able to offer this. And the whole mindset is to create a movement. There's been so much division and so much intentional activities in communities across the country that sought and seek to divide law enforcement and communities. With National Faith in Blue Weekend, we are creating a movement to unite law enforcement and communities and build inseparable bonds so that even when a tragedy happens in a local community, we're not reduced to shouting at each other. We are looking to collaborate and turn to each other and not on each other. And that is the mindset and the premise behind National Faith in Blue Weekend. So all of these resources we've created are helping agencies across this country to organize. We are organizing in all 50 states across the country. We're organizing through sheriffs and police departments. We're organizing through faith-based organizations. We're basically putting all hands on deck. And so some of you have gotten outreach not only from the Maryland Chiefs and Maryland Sheriffs Associations, but you've probably also gotten some outreach from IACP or Major City Chiefs or Major County Sheriffs or FOP or the Department of Justice or the Department of Homeland Security or FEMA. But we're really making an effort to build a movement in America to shift some of the culture, to shift some of the narrative that we're seeing and hearing. And there's no institution that can do that, as Jared referenced, just as effectively as the faith community can. In addition to being able to host an event, we want members of the public, the general public, to be able to find an event in their local community. So I'm going to ask Dalton Cole, our Chief Information Officer, to come back and just give you a preview of how people can find an event on the website, if it's a faith-based organization or a member of a faith-based organization or a general community member. Again, there's nothing religious or sectarian about this work or this movement. We just recognize that these faith communities have resources and assets that should be used to help unite law enforcement and community. So Dalton, come back and tell the chiefs and sheriffs and their agencies how members of the public will be able to find an event and what that will entail. Dalton.
So on October 1st, we'll actually be launching our national event map. So that will show all the National Faith in Blue events that have essentially sent us their event details up to that point, and then we'll continually add them every day until National Faith in Blue weekend. And so for the community to find those, they'll just need to go to faithandblue.org, and then they'll need to go to find an event. It's a tab on our website, and then that will bring up a national event map. And they'll be able to type in their address to find events near them. They'll be able to search by state if they just want to see every event in their state, and also by type. So if an event has a virtual type, you'll be able to look at the virtual type and see events going across the nation, and the websites for those virtual events, if it's Zoom meetings or streaming and things like that.
Thank you, Dalton. If someone goes and searches for an event in their local area and they can't find an event near them, they'll be offered an opportunity to host an event in that instance. I've talked a lot about this because we're really proud of it. Again, Faith in Blue Weekend has become now the most collaborative community police outreach project in American history. The three agencies in the federal government that are most directly related to local law enforcement: the Bureau of Justice Assistance at the cops at the U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of Justice Programs at the U.S. Department of Justice, and the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, or COPS office, are all three partners in National Faith in Blue Weekend, as is the United States Department of Homeland Security, which is the largest law enforcement agency in our country, as well. The Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, Police Executive Research Forum, FOP, NOBLE, or National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, IACP, National Sheriff's Association, just literally all National District Attorneys Association, all of the major national law enforcement associations are actively engaged and acting as full partners in this effort. We are able to provide these resources and support largely due to the support of FirstNet built with AT&T, the Motorola Solutions Foundation, and BolaWrap or Wrap Technologies. Those are our three corporate partners, and they have allowed us to provide all of the resources that we're providing and be able to provide the support directly to the police chiefs or police departments and sheriff's offices around the country that are organizing for National Faith in Blue Weekend. The question is asked, why? And I think for most of you, the answer to the why is clear. This is an unprecedented time in American history. Most of the police chiefs and sheriffs that I've talked to across this country agree we've never experienced a moment in police community or in policing where there was so much tension. Officers are being attacked, there are racial tensions, there are cultural tensions, and they're happening in every community of every kind. And all the while these tensions are rising, so is crime and violence in a lot of communities. So there's never been a period in American history quite like this. So the need for resolution and reconciliation are urgent, and we need to have these difficult conversations. We need to get to know one another. The challenges that we face in America today will not be solved or cured by any legislation alone. It won't be just changes in policies and procedures. So I've often said that the answers to the challenges we face won't be printed in ink. They will be imprinted in the hearts and minds of every officer, of every deputy, and of every citizen. And that's what National Faith in Blue Weekend is all about. Allowing people to get to know each other, to see the humanity in one another, so that people see the humanity in the officers that police their communities, and so that these officers and deputies see the humanity in the people that they're policing beyond just the demographics or the profiles of whatever it is that happens to be the pressing issues in their local community. COVID has magnified community tensions and community issues. And so in many ways, COVID presents some challenges, but it also presents some real opportunities. And I think what we're seeing in America now is people are really committed to finding a way to work through these differences. Tough conversations about bias need to be had, but communities want solutions-oriented leadership. I think many people are tired of just the marching and the protesting, because once all of those things are over, we still have to deal with some of the realities of crime and violence in our local communities, and we've got to solve those challenges together. So in terms of what the police chiefs or the police departments and sheriff's offices and agencies across Maryland can do to get involved, number one, we'd ask you to publicly announce your participation in National Faith in Blue Weekend. Jared talked about this earlier. We have those sample activities, but you know your communities better than anyone else. And you and the faith-based organizations in your local communities know the kinds of things that your communities need. We ask you to partner with them from October 9th through October 12th to do some sort of community-facing event that you can publicly announce. Secondly, please post these things on your social media platforms using the hashtag #FaithAndBlue. There are a lot of hashtags that have been thrown around, again, across this country to divide law enforcement and community. We want to create a social media movement that focuses on the things that we have in common and not all the things that we differ on. So number 3, we ask you to designate a coordinator for your agency, someone in your agency that will coordinate your outreach to the faith community, your collaboration, setting up events, and then getting them notified and getting people in your communities notified using whatever means are available to you. Number 4, we ask you to notify the houses of worship in your jurisdiction of the weekend. Number 5, plan as many events as possible with at least one activity per zone or precinct or however your agency is situated. If you can do one event on Friday the 9th, one on Saturday the 10th, one on Sunday October 11th, one on Monday October 12th, that would be wonderful. If you don't have the resources to do that, we certainly understand, but we would ask that you would attempt to host at least one activity per precinct or zone or patrol area within your jurisdiction with the local houses of worship in those areas. Number 6, and Dalton referenced this earlier, we'd ask you to register all of your events at www.faithandblue.org, because in the coming weeks, there will be a lot of attention in the media and other places. We're going to be doing a lot of promotions on social media, on radio, and to some degree on television. So we want to be able to point people to faithandblue.org, and we want folks to be able to see the activities that are going on around them, and that includes in your local communities as well. And finally, we encourage you to post a video message of some sort from your local agency head on your social media platforms and on your website that talks about National Faith and Blue Weekend. Some of your local agencies have already begun organizing. I know the Baltimore County Police Department is actively engaged, and I believe Chief Melissa Hyatt is on the line. We'd love to hear from you, Chief Hyatt. We know your agency is already working, but we really want Maryland to be well represented. There are a lot of agencies that are on this call right now, and so we want to answer any questions you might have. Again, all of these resources are available right now today at faithandblue.org. You can find the one-pager. There's a sample letter that we have made available. We can certainly share this deck with you, and after this call, we will share the deck with you. We will share a sample letter that has been created that you can send to inform the houses of worship in your local community and ask them to partner with you. So we will share those things, the deck, we will share that letter, and we will share the toolkit. It's available on the website, but we'll share it directly with you in hopes that you can immediately begin to organize. Time is of the essence. So Mr. Newman, I'd love to hear from you, to hear your thoughts. Then Chief Hyatt, I'd love to hear your thoughts as your agency has already begun organizing, and we'll answer any questions and would love to get additional feedback from other agency heads who may be on the line. Mr. Newman?
Thank you. I just have a couple of quick questions, and I'll defer to Chief Hyatt as our first Vice President of the Maryland Chiefs Association. But first, is the faith-based community, do you believe that they'll be reaching out to the agencies as well as the agencies reaching out to the faith-based community?
So that's a great question. We're not leaving anything to chance, quite frankly. We have sent a great deal of correspondence. There was a letter that went out to 30,000 houses of worship in the largest areas across the country last week. So faith-based organizations, absolutely, we believe, will be reaching out. There are a number of the United Methodist, the Episcopal Church, the Catholic Church in certain areas in Maryland have been fully engaged Director Keith and I, Mr. Newman, had a meeting about 2 weeks ago with the head denominational leaders of all of the major Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, and Hindu organizations. So the faith-based community is organizing, but all of that organization, the houses of worship are likely preparing themselves, but we want the agencies to reach out to the houses of worship in addition to the houses of worship reaching out to the agencies. So Chief Hyatt, thank you so much for all that Baltimore County is doing, and thank you for your leadership. I've read a lot about you and really appreciate your community orientation and the leadership you're providing and the example you're providing. So would love to know your thoughts about what you think about the presentation. I know that you were a part of the presentation with the large agency heads. So if you want to brief your colleagues on that and just share your ideas, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time to be here today doing this presentation. We're really excited about this. Obviously, for all of us, this pandemic really has adjusted some of the things that we're used to being able to do with our communities. And so the timing of this event, with us having had to cancel so many different things, really gives us a unique opportunity right now to be part of a national movement. Our team, and I know I've got a couple folks on the call from my team, is still in the process of doing outreach. I know that your challenge was looking at precincts or districts and trying to arrange one event in each of those, and we're still in the process of really trying to gauge what the interest looks like. Additionally, one of the challenges that we actually discovered is that there is some concern. Obviously, much of what we're going to be doing is going to have to be virtual. Some social distancing events, but much of it's going to have to be virtual because that's really what most of us in leadership roles are impressing on most of our folks. But some discomfort with using Zoom and WebEx and figuring out a way to work around that. Some of our faith-based communities, some of our more senior citizens struggling a little bit with some of that. So, we still have a lot of work to do, but this is, again, it's a great opportunity. I think, one question that I have, just tagging on to something that John said, it's great that your organization has done so much outreach. It would be helpful, and I know it might be incredibly overwhelming, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it would be helpful to know in the state of Maryland, what organizations or what large, let's say churches, synagogues, mosques that you've already done outreach to in all of our individual jurisdictions, because at least we would know that some of them may have already been primed. And we're certainly doing as much outreach as we can across the board, but particularly with this being the first time for this national event, it would be helpful.
And we will provide that. I know that we have some of that specifically for your county, for Baltimore County, which is a bit unique. You're a large agency, so we've done a little bit more outreach. We had obviously limited capacity, but because Baltimore County is a larger agency, there's been already a mailing to a number of houses of worship there. There's been some engagement, again, with some of the denominational leaders. But I will ask Jarrett to provide that to the coordinator for Baltimore County so that we can share that information with you all. And I think you're absolutely right. It's an interesting period because a lot of people are ready to be done with Zoom and they're ready for some level of engagement, but they also, many folks, and particularly faith-based leaders, are seeing the need to be balanced. And so one of the things that we have seen as a really, really successful model that people are beginning to duplicate around the country is a hybrid between a socially distanced and a virtual option. So events and activities that are streamed on Facebook or Twitter or Zoom or Google Meet, but that have some in-person engagement to them. And as long as they're limited in terms of the numbers of people that are involved. So that's something that we've seen begun to work really, really well. And that's something that we're now encouraging because we're getting a lot of people, a lot of institutions, including law enforcement agencies, are saying, we're excited about this. but boy, we really want to be responsible, but we're tired of Zoom meetings. We want to actually engage. And so that balance is what we have found that people are attracted to more and more as the weeks go on, as people get closer and closer to finalizing the planning of their activities. So are there other questions? I see a number of other majors and leaders from various institutions. If you've got a question, please unmute yourself and we'd be happy to answer any question or receive any feedback. I see Colonel Tuwe. Is that how you pronounce that, Colonel? We'd love to hear from you. And any other questions we have, please just jump in and share with us.
Well, Reverend, while you're waiting, I do have one question. I see that it appears that this is being recorded. Will that link be available that we could send out to our membership? So this could answer a lot of questions that they may have. We've already supplied the Toolkit link and the one-pager link to all of our membership for both the Chiefs and the Sheriff's Association. But this was a great call. It explained a lot more. And if there's people that weren't able to make this call, it'd be great if we could share this with them as well.
That's exactly why we record the calls. We will share a link with you, and that link will include all of the things that we talked about, that sample letter, the toolkit, and the presentation. So we will share that so we can, we record these sessions so we can then share it out with you, and then you can share it out with your agencies across the state of Maryland. Is there anything else? I see someone is unmuted.
Colonel Toohey was trying to respond, but he says he's in a listen-only mode. I'm not sure if there's something on your end that you could change.
Major, okay, I just asked Colonel Toohey to unmute himself. There you go, Colonel. You're unmuted.
I think he just indicated he doesn't have a microphone. He's in.
I see. I see. There was a major MW, and I can't see the rest of the name. That looks like you have Major England. Looked like Major England had unmuted himself. Well, we won't belabor the point. We hope that all of the agencies will get involved. We really want to create a movement, and we think this is a very unique opportunity for the people of Maryland. Again, we ask all of your agencies to go online, tweet, and Facebook about the effort and get involved to really make a difference. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Newman, for putting this call together. We're right at the 41-minute mark. We promised 45 minutes, so this is actually perfect timing, and we really, really appreciate you and what you do with and for the sheriffs and chiefs of police in Maryland.
Thank you for everything you're doing, and certainly needed in this environment that we're currently in. And always, you know, I mean, we can always do things to improve our relations in the community, and this is an absolutely great thing that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thank you to our team, Ms. Cheeks and Jared and Dalton. Thank you for all of the work that you all are doing to make this an overwhelming success. Through this effort, we really believe we will begin to see bridges built and the narrative in America shift. There's no one that can do that quite like the faith community. And we just hope that across the state of Maryland, people will get involved from the law enforcement agencies and work with your partner houses of worship. There's one question. Oh, thanks from the Havre de Grace Police Department. Thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.